Hello, I'm Brad Britt from the Air Force Wounded Warrior Program, the Empowerment and Transition Program, the program manager. Today, very fortunate to have with us Denise Gordon-Watts from CACI. She's the Veteran Engagement Advisor for CACI International. She's here to tell us a little bit about how she got at CACI and a little bit about their programs, how they work with veterans, and just a little bit in general about the company. So with that, Denise, I really just kind of want to turn it over to you and let you kind of give a brief introduction and maybe talk a little bit about what you do at CACI and then how y'all work with veterans. So with that, thank you for joining me. Thank you for taking time today, and over to you.
Oh, great, great. Thank you so much, Brad. One, we appreciate the invitation. Anytime we have an opportunity to talk to a broad audience of transitioning service members, we're going to jump at it. And I will admit I am biased because I am retired Air Force, so I was especially happy to come before you today. So a little bit about how I got to CACI. I did 13 years active duty Air Force, and then I did 10 years in the Air Force Reserves. My last active duty station was Nellis, and that brought me to Virginia, where I joined the reserves, and um, my headquarters was Langley Air Force Base. And coming out of the Air Force, I think most of us we're kind of dual headed. You have a couple different career fields, right? So I was an old 702. I'm dating myself, which transitioned to a 3 alpha. So basically, order room, right, or command support staff. But being admin, I also had to be the IT rep. So I had to know my way around computers. So my first job out of the Air Force, out of active duty, was with another government contractor where I did IT. After a year of that, I was contacted by a recruiter from CECI they were opening a brand new position related to counseling employees. My degrees are in counseling. So I was able to interview well, and I was offered the position, and that was in 2007. So I've been with the company coming up on 14 years. So the entire time I was in the reserves, I worked for CACI, and I'll get back to that. In 2008, the company realized that, you know what, we're going through these dual wars. We've been in Iraq and Afghanistan for several years, and a lot of our warriors are coming back, both wounded and not wounded. And we really wanted to make sure that those folks who are coming back have a fair chance and a fair shot at finding a meaningful career. So I was instrumental in being the first manager for our program called Deploying Talent Creating Careers, which was designed specifically to assist wounded, ill, and injured warriors find positions within CCI. In addition to that, I was also the manager of our entire veterans program. Fast forward, here we are in 2021, time has flown, and our program has matured. We have finessed it, we have expanded it, we have, as in everything, it changes, it adapts with the times. But our main goal continues, and this started not in 2007, but it started in 1962 when CCI was awarded our first contract. And since then to today, our mission continued to focus on the armed forces and supporting the warfighter. That is one of the main reasons why I stay with CACI, because I have seen firsthand how when I joined CACI in 2007, we had an employee population of hovering close to 9,000. Today we're at 23,000. And back then, the veteran percentage of employees, we were at about 12 or 13%. Today, we're at about 38%. And I think because we've been very, very deliberate in how we go about engaging with our veterans, engaging with transition service members, linking up with fantastic organizations such as the Air Force Unity Warrior Program and other transitioning assistance programs from, in the military to nonprofits. So we've been very, very deliberate in extending a wide breadth to make sure that we are reaching what we call our targeted military audience. And it doesn't it also includes our military spouses because we all know that the whole military person, it's not just, those of us who wear uniform. A lot of times it's our spouses, and especially when you're talking about wounded warriors, it's our spouses and caregivers. Sometimes it's the parents, sometimes it's a sibling, friends. So we wanted to make sure that we were extremely inclusive when it comes to um, the types of organizations that we partner with, the types of positions we make sure to kind of disseminate to these organizations. And most of us who serve, we know about USA jobs, right? We know how hard it is to kind of get into that organization. And I think with veterans preference, some of us who have joined federal agencies, you have that veterans preference to kind of pull out your back pocket. At CACI, unfortunately, we don't have that. So that's why our team, another reason why our team was created, because as veterans transitioning service members apply for positions, while we can't offer veterans preference, if they engage with us, with our team, then we kind of offer a level of veterans preference, if that makes sense. Um, it doesn't guarantee they'll be hired, but it does guarantee greater visibility among our recruiters, our hiring managers, around our decision makers. Sometimes all it takes is a conversation, right? And sometimes all it takes is trying to figure out an in, right? Who is that person in that company that I could actually talk to via email, on the phone, to say, hey, I found this position and I need some assistance. Is my resume okay? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? We're going to be honest. We are really going to be honest. We have um, seen some folks that have fantastic resumes. They're applying to positions that match what they're looking for. And we have some folks that need a little bit of assistance, and we're here for that. Um, a little bit about our team. So I am part of a three-person team, and it's led by a vice president. His name is Gary Patton. He did 35 years in the United States Army, and my colleague Robert Bartlett. He's a retired Army wounded warrior soldier. He spent, I want to say, two or 3 years in Walter Reed, having survived a traumatic injury. So he 100% understands how the transition goes from being a soldier, being horrifically wounded in Iraq, being in Walter Reed. Now he's in a career. And oh, by the way, he was an infantry guy, and he's in HR. So a lot of times that's all it takes is figuring out a niche, figuring out who they can talk to. That's our team, and hopefully what we're doing is working. Um, and I'm sorry, Brett. So one other thing I'll say, I was in the reserves for 10 years, and I think nowadays you see a lot of guardsmen and reservists. They kind of one foot in civilian world, one foot in uniform, and we love those, right? And one of the worries most of those individuals have is, if I'm deployed, if I go away, will my job be there when I get back? And the answer is yes. CCI abides by USERA law. Us in a nutshell. That's what brought me to CCI in a nutshell, and that's why I stay.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of things you touched on. I mean, I had the opportunity to meet the team that you work with and participate in an event that they participated in, and it was It's just great. It is nice to have that connection and be able to reach out and talk to people and to have that team. Like it's a very big benefit to network. And we hammer a lot on network when we're working with our wounded warrior population because it can help you find out, hey, this is really what I want to do, but it can also help you find out if, hey, this isn't what I want to do. I
Mm,
mean that also is very beneficial, and you don't know what you don't know when you're getting out. Because, like you said, I was this, I was this series of letters and numbers when I was in the military. This is what I did. This is what I know. But those tangible skills, those soft skills you have in that training could transfer over to a bunch of different things. You could be infantry and end up in HR.
mhm,
You have the skills to do that. So I mean, like, if you're watching this and you haven't already reached out to her on LinkedIn, you're wrong. So I'll just put that there. But I mean, that's great information. Would you be able to kind of talk? I know you support the military, and that's I think a lot of the wounded warrior population who gets out, they're looking. It's familiar, but they still feel like they're serving. You know what I mean? They're serving in a capacity
mhm.
when they take a position like that. That's kind of how I felt when I got out and I was serving wounded warriors. I'm still giving. I'm still able to participate, right? Can you talk just about? I know there's probably so many, but just a few different kind of positions that are out there that maybe our wounded warriors or caregivers may be interested in, or just a few examples if you could just touch on them.
Sure, sure. So we have a hiring program called Continue Your Mission, right? It's fitting. You leave the service, you join another organization, and you know those core values. A lot of times they're ingrained in us. So you want to continue your mission. So we thought the title was just apropos. And each month we select a set amount of positions. Under these seven career families: cybersecurity, engineering, information technology, logistics, intelligence, training, project program management, and I think I have plus a whole bunch more, right? There's finance, there's HR. The majority of the MOSs that you would find in the military, we have them at CACI, with the exception of, yeah, we even have pilots. We have pilots. We have, um, and that's because CACI, we're constantly growing. We're acquiring businesses. We're being very strategic in the businesses that we acquire because we are very predictive in the direction we want to support national security, support the warfighter. So, we have Sky Tracker program that deals with drones. So if you're a drone pilot in the Air Force, hey, we may have something there for you. So as well as our caregivers. So, matter of fact, tomorrow I'll be doing a flyer specifically for military spouses, and that flyer is going to include all of our positions that do not require clearance. Because we know sometimes it's military spouses. You're traveling with your service member, unless you were also in the military and say you separated or retired, and now you're traveling with the active duty person or the National Guardsman or reservist. A lot of times, military spouses may not necessarily have a security clearance. So again, we're being very very deliberate in selecting. I think I have about 50 some odd jobs that cover a wide variety of skill sets, but no clearance requirement. Because at CACI, about 70% of our positions do require some level of security clearance, but not all. So,
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's awesome, and I look forward to getting that flyer so we can and send it out there. But I think it's important because it's a population I think that sometimes gets doesn't get all the attention that they deserve.
mhm,
And then like you said, it's a unit. The family,
mhm,
when you're traveling, when you're in the military, you really are kind of a team. And if one part of that team is not being taken care of, it impacts the whole unit. So that's awesome that you have that, and I look forward to that. I mean, just looking at it, like you said, you're growing. It's nice to hear that, especially during COVID. I mean, the clearance isn't a surprise. You know, we have a lot of individuals who are getting out with and without. And thanks for touching on that. Do you have any upcoming events that you'd maybe want to touch on, as far as like maybe virtual? I know right now in-person events really aren't happening, but you know, if I'm a wounded warrior, a caregiver, I'm looking at this. Where do I want to go to find out what you're doing and how I can maybe look at the positions and upcoming events?
So on our career site, it's cci.com. You know, we list all of
Yeah,
our career fairs that we're going to.
that's awesome. And you've been very accessible whenever we've had a question and very responsive. And I thank you for participating in events that we've had and answering questions and sending us information. I mean, you've covered most of the questions that I've had. I mean, I think that's a really good background on what y'all do and your hiring, you know, and you know what you're looking for. And I think with the remote hiring, I think this is you know, not for all, but I think for a good majority, this is an environment that a lot of, you know, military veterans can thrive in
Mhm.
because it's just, you know, doing stuff with very limited supervision. You know, you're
Mhm.
given a task and you do it.
Mhm.
And that's just kind of something that a lot of us are very used to, and
Yeah,
being entrusted with a responsibility and you're going to do it. And so I think that our veteran population is a good hire for this kind of environment. Denise, would you mind telling me just a little bit about the culture at CACI?
sure, absolutely. Again, when it comes to making the decision to even consider a company, right? One of the things that I think kind of plays into that decision is what is the culture like? In COVID, it makes it a little bit tricky to experience that culture. But I'm just going to give you a rundown of what we do for our veteran employees, our National Guard Reserve employees, and for the company as a whole to get a glimpse of CSI's veteran culture. One, we have a veteran employee resource group. It's the largest employee resource group we have in the company. We're hovering at close to about 450 members. We have two, well, we have three chapters. We have a main chapter here in Virginia. We have one in California and one in Colorado. Um, that is a chance for vets, patriots, military spouses, military supporters to come together and just learn a little bit about the military culture and how we could continue to support CSAB business.
Denise, thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate you giving us all the information on CACI and telling us a little bit about how you ended up there, about the programs that you have and the culture that's there and how support is to our veterans. I'm sure that you'll have a few requests coming your way on LinkedIn asking you about CACI. So thank you very much for your time. I look forward to seeing you at upcoming events. Thank you for your service and be well.